Well, what's up, everybody? Hope you're having a great weekend. This is, you're listening to Unfiltered with Pastor Jason Gaszak on the Real Talk Radio Network. And we just want to say thank you for tuning in today. As you can probably tell, this is not Pastor Jason Gaszak, but I'm in the room today, and my name is Austin Gaszak. I am filling in for him today. We're actually doing a little bit of a hostile takeover. He's out of town this weekend, and I've got two incredible people with me. Eric Stable.
Hello.
What's up, dude? And we've also got Becca Carmen in the room as well.
Hi.
How are you guys doing today?
I am great. I'm
good?
super excited to take over the show.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
Maybe take it over and never give it back.
Yeah,
never give it back.
He's out of town, so when the pastor's away, the mice play. So we are in the studio. Yeah, we're having a blast. And so we just want to say thank you guys for tuning in today. All of you guys that are listening right now. You can listen every week live on Saturday morning at 7 a.m. or Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. is the replay on 93.3 FM. Or you can listen, probably some of you are listening right now on the Real Talk Radio app. And in addition to that, we want to make sure that you guys are able to text in your questions if you have any. And so the number for that is 314-924-4215. And so if you have any questions, maybe future recommendations on what you want Pastor Jason, or if you ever, if it might be us, who knows? But,
I'm planning on it being us.
He's probably listening. Yeah, so. He's probably listening to us right now. So
he's texting in questions right now.
Yeah. So, but if you're wondering what this show is all about, it's really about having a platform for Pastor Jason to really talk about these unfiltered views from a pastor's perspective, and really it focuses in on hard to talk about topics from the church, social, political issues as well. And so our ultimate goal is really just to share God's word as well through personal opinions on some of these topics. Some of them are strictly social issues, and so today we're going to kind of dive into a couple of those. I'm really excited about that. And as Pastor Jason always says, most of this is common sense, but common sense isn't so common. So we do want to make a disclaimer: the views and opinions expressed in this program are not those. No, I'm just kidding. I've always wanted to do that. So just kidding. But so
this is exactly what Pastor Jason believes.
Yes,
is what we're saying.
Yeah, as everything that we say.
This is canon right here.
Absolutely.
I'm just kidding.
So, that goes without saying completely. So I just wanted to kind of introduce. We know Eric Stable's in the room. Eric, what do you do, and why are you here?
I'm here because I work at Roots Church.
All right.
Okay. I'm the worship pastor at Roots Church. I've been here for, it's almost been a year.
Yeah.
And so super excited to be here.
Time flies.
Love what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Well, we love having you, and it's been awesome really working with you over the last year. You're not going anywhere, so I don't want to make it sound like you're going somewhere. But it feels like I've known you forever. For real. So
yeah,
pretty cool.
It's been
stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today. We've also got Becca Carmen in the room today. Becca, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Tell us what do you do at the church? Or are you at the church? What do you do, and why are you here?
Yep. So I work here at Roots. I am the creative director. It's been a really cool journey for me. I was a volunteer here for a long time, and then one day I was asked if I wanted to join staff here, and I not really looked back. Maybe a couple of times I've looked over my shoulder, but no, for the most part, love working here.
Wow.
I've been here for just over a year, so I've been here longer than Eric, so haha, Eric.
Yeah.
Well, I'm technically her boss.
Yeah. Wow, you guys. Yeah, there you go.
We're establishing boundaries and guidelines real quick.
And Austin's technically both of our bosses.
Yeah,
that's true.
And then Pastor's all of our bosses.
So when he tells us that we're taking over and not giving it back.
Yeah, we're taking it over. But no, and kind of something funny as well is that all of us in this room have been creative directors at a certain point.
It's true.
Yeah, Becca, no pressure to me.
Becca is currently our creative director. Yeah. Eric, how long were you a creative director?
I was creative director at a church in New Mexico for 6 years.
Yeah.
So down there. Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
And actually all of us are new in our jobs. Actually, our roles here, we've all been in it about a year. So pretty cool. We're getting to know each other, working really well together, I feel like, and
it's been good.
It's been good. Yeah. So, and you've only been doing that. So what is it that a creative director does, Becca? I mean, I know worship pastor, a lot of people know what that is, but why does a church need a creative director?
So generally, whenever I like describe what a creative director does, I always equate it to something kind of like a marketing director and a production director, kind of all put together. At a church, there's lots of, well, especially at our church, we really focus heavily on creative elements, whether it's graphics, it's videos, promotional, social media, the weekend experience, which is something Eric and I work closely on. So kind of all the fun stuff, I like to say, the website, the app, all that kinds of things. I just do my best in directing it, and I have an amazing team of volunteers who make things happen.
Yeah, we keep you guys busy, and they keep us all busy. But no, I love doing it. It's definitely not my gifting, so I'm glad you're here because it was a fun time while I did it, but that's not my gift whatsoever. I think Eric would agree as well. You like what
I would
you're
not
doing?
agree with that.
You-
I served
Really?
I served under you for 2 or 3 years, and you
I
were
got
awesome.
Oh, well, thank you. I thought you were saying you
not
didn't
letting you
agree
get
that
by.
Eric's good at his job. I was like, wow. Do you like what you're doing, Eric?
I love what I'm doing. I love it. Like I said, I was a creative director for 6 years.
Yeah.
At the same time as being a worship pastor, and now I really get to focus more on worship,
Yeah.
which is awesome, and I love that. So
Cool. Well, we've got some upcoming events that are happening here at Roots. We always like to have a little shameless plug. And so give me just a second. We're going to pull these up. Actually, Becca, do you know any off the top of your head that
I do.
that would apply? We just had a worship night.
We did. It was so much fun.
It was
Eric,
epic.
it was
job.
epic.
It was epic.
It was epic.
We've got, what do we have coming up?
A lot of our closer stuff. We're in a little bit of a lull right
Yeah.
now. We always offer like classes here at Roots on the weekends. Those are always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We got our youth program coming back in a couple of weeks, but we're really gearing up for fall because once we hit fall,
It's races, off to the races.
Suddenly it's Christmas and it's next year's conferences and it's everything.
Yeah, that's true. Well, very cool. So I guess kind of the only thing we've got going on right yet is weekend experiences, which happen on Sundays at 9 and 11 a.m. And then we also have a Monday night experience that is the same as our Sunday experiences that happen, but it's just on a Monday at 7 o'clock. And you can learn more information about all of this at myridgechurch.com/events, or just hit us up on social media. We've got Facebook, Instagram. We do not do Twitter. We don't do anything like, we don't have Snapchat. We don't do anything like that.
Oh, no.
Instagram and Facebook
TikTok
is where it's at. We don't do TikTok
Eric,
yet.
don't put that out there
Eric's
yet.
wanting to do TikTok. I mean TikTok.
Tic Tac.
Anything but
Y'all
Snapchat.
need a Tic Tac.
We do need a Tic Tac. Hey, I'm sitting like, I've had coffee all day, so it's probably, all morning. But yeah. All right. Well, very cool. Well, I think really what I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit, we've got 3 millennials in here right now. And right? I mean, we're all millennials.
I'm not sure if I want to own up to being a millennial.
Well, that's what I want to kind of talk about.
We get a lot of hate these days.
Out of a
but-
technicality, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but do you guys feel like millennials are represented well, or because we obviously are by the dates that which we were born, but I don't feel like I identify with all of those character qualities that people talk about all the time.
Well, apparently it is about how you identify, right?
Well,
So,
that's true. That is true. Yeah.
I mean, I identify as a baby boomer, so I'm just
A
kidding.
baby boomer. Oh, that's funny.
I mean, I have 3
Yeah,
babies.
you
so
do have 3
they're
babies.
booming, so.
But overall,
I think millennials definitely have a bad rep.
yeah.
And I think as a Christian, it's tough. It's tough to stay on the positive and have a positive outlook when it comes to when you're describing a whole generation of people, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we just generalized everybody and put them in this like category, but I can tell from experience from the millennials that I know personally that they're incredible.
Yeah.
And they're world changers, and they're outside of the box thinkers.
Yep.
They're creative.
Yep.
They have to be creative because of the circumstances that they're growing up in. And so I think a lot of times, you see a few on the news here and there, and they speak for the whole. We allow them to speak for the whole generation, which that's not fair.
Yeah.
There's a lot of world changers out there. So, but that's on me to keep that mindset.
Yeah.
Not letting other things that I see just define a whole generation. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, because you could do that with any generation.
Yeah, literally.
Really.
Yeah.
You could pick out the bad, focus on that, and you know, as humanity, we tend to lean towards that sometimes. Right. So, and that's not fair. But yeah, I'd say that overall, I don't identify as like what a standard, what they show in the media a millennial is. But I'm just curious to get you guys' perspective on that. We've got just a few seconds left in this segment, and we'll be right back. We've got a great lineup of topics for you guys today. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be talking about student loans, health insurance, and we're going to be talking about creativity and technology in the church. We'll be right back. You're listening to Unfiltered with Pastor Jason Gaszak. And we're back. Thanks for tuning in today. You're listening to Unfiltered with Pastor Jason Gaszak on Real Talk Radio Network. Unfortunately, he is out of town this weekend, but we still want to thank you for tuning in. We're glad that all of you are listening in. Yes, listening in this morning. You can listen every Saturday or Sunday, Saturdays at 7 a.m. or Sundays at 8 a.m. or on the Real Talk app. You can listen on the radio at 93.3. And we want to also make sure that you're texting in your questions, 314-924-4215. Let's talk a little bit about the health insurance
problem.
Yeah. Epidemic. I don't know. It's not an epidemic, whatever you want to call it. Issue, breakdown in the United States. I think this first came to light with me back in, whenever they rolled out Obamacare and what is it?
Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, was that what it was? ACA?
I believe so. I mean, I think it was nicknamed Obamacare.
Obamacare is what it was.
Yeah, but I believe it was Affordable Care Act.
Well, I remember when that got all rolled out and how horribly it flopped. And so, now we're in kind of a, what is the state of affairs now is kind of what I'm asking, if we kind of want to start with that.
Well, I have TRICARE. My husband was in the military, still is in the military, and appreciate him and for all he's done, and our armed forces, everybody.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sacrifices to that we're not going to get into today, but TRICARE has been beneficial for us. Honestly, before TRICARE, I was in a terrible insurance situation at a previous job. My insurance was probably the cost of my monthly, I guess, premium would be the word, was so high. It was a third of my take home pay. And so that caused me to actually seek employment elsewhere because the costs were just astronomical. And I didn't qualify for assistance or anything because I had employer offered health care.
Right.
And so that was kind of my first touch with it, was realizing that the day I turned, I had to be removed from my parents' insurance because of their medical situation, and for them to receive benefits through a really tough time, it became really tough for me, and it was eye-opening almost immediately to see a third of my take-home pay go straight to a premium, not even going to the doctor, just having insurance so that I wouldn't be fined at the end of the year.
Right, because that's what happened.
I didn't even use it.
Yeah, which I'm glad they got rid of that mandate.
Yeah, absolutely. That was definitely under old tax laws.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, I have a similar situation, but I have some pre-existing conditions for sure, and health insurance for me is when I took this job, that was my first thing. I was like, Pastor Jason, love you guys. I want to be here.
Right.
What's the health insurance situation
what does that look like?
What does that look like for me? Because without it, we're living on the streets pretty much, or I'm not here on earth anymore.
Right.
One of the two. Mm-hmm. And it sucks that we're in a time where people have to make those decisions, but, for me, my medications are crazy. They're crazy expensive. One dose of medication for me, I remember they didn't charge my insurance. And so I got that bill in the mail. I opened it up, $64,000 for one shot.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I opened that up. I had a heart attack for a split second. But then I was like, okay, they didn't charge the insurance. So, after it went through insurance and stuff, praise God that that, I didn't have to end up paying $64,000. But
how can they charge $64,000,
Yeah, that's
why?
insane.
It's
but then
insane.
they can drop it to however much.
Yeah, it's insane.
The second you have an insurance card.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I want to know what the profit margin is on that
It's
medicine.
probably high.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, it's insane. It's crazy.
Supply and demand. I mean, it doesn't, unfortunately, it doesn't go away with.
So do we need universal health care?
I don't like universal anything. But
I think that's a word that automatically puts you on edge, right?
Yeah.
Because it's so encompassing.
I think socialism is a bad thing. I think when I hear universal health care, I think of socialistic ideology. I don't think that's a good thing. I do think, though, that there should be some sort of regulation on big pharma.
Absolutely, I agree.
I think that's where the issue is. I mean, and this thing about this too. I went to the doctor a couple months ago. They made me take a depression test and a suicidal ideation test just because I have. It's like a new patient paperwork.
Oh, like an evaluation kind of thing, like setting a baseline.
Yeah, so they know. And do you know how much that cost? I got the bill in the mail. I have insurance. It was $75 for 2 of those tests, those Quizlets. And I told them, I said, I'm not here for this. Like, it should be a thing where I go to the doctor and I say, this is what I'm here for. Okay, cool. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this test. We're going to send you to this x-ray. We're going to send you to this outpatient thing, whatever. Here's the line items of what you should expect to pay or what the dollar amount is. But there's no transparency in the medical community.
Oh yeah.
There's no transparency. You could be getting a shot that says $64,000, but it doesn't really even come anywhere close to that. Or you're billed for things that you necessarily didn't know you're being billed for. I think that's where it starts. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, I mean, we're at the point where when we just had our last kid.
Yeah.
I remember specifically in the room, and if you're a nurse out there or whatnot, you probably obviously know this, but
right.
I was just watching the nurses in the room, and there was a nurse just with a clipboard.
Yep.
Every time the doctor, took one more gauze pad.
Yep.
Check,
inventory.
Check. It's just inventory, which, you would think I can get it to an extent, but each one of those gauze pads, how much are they costing me?
Well, and part of that
they
is
told
to
me
make
they were like, you want to cut the umbilical cord, and I was like, is it gonna be cheaper? Like, is it gonna be cheaper, like for me to cut the umbilical cord? Because if not, I'm not qualified to do minor surgery.
Right.
So
right.
maybe y'all should do that.
Yeah.
But
what were you gonna say, Becca?
Well, part of that, my sister was a ultrasound, or she was an ultrasound X-ray tech, and sometimes when she was in the ER, she would be like in the operating room if needed to like help with, I don't really know because she's not a radiologist. But anyway, with the inventory thing, part of it is making sure they don't like leave something inside of you.
Yeah.
Like they have to account for all the tools and all the things.
Yeah, that would suck.
But what she said primarily, it's like a Band-Aid is used $7.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy,
Yeah.
the markup. And I don't know if it's actually 7. Don't quote me, anybody. Don't come for me. But
Quoting
it's
sure.
crazy.
You're gonna have a mob of people coming to you after you.
They're texting in it now. They're texting in there.
Well, at least give me the choice between brands. I like Band-Aid brand.
Sure.
I'm not using.
Sure.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I don't think, and so to answer your question, I don't think universal healthcare is the way. I think, though, that there should be universal standards to the healthcare and transparency is one of them for me. I mean, if you go to the ER today, they have to take you in. So that's good. That's a good thing. Mm-hmm. But when you go to the ER, it could be up to $15,000, $20,000 for a hospital visit.
And
Why?
they can choose to keep you. Like my brother-in-law has significant heart problems.
Yeah.
And he's been kept before, and he wanted to be transferred, and they wouldn't let him transfer to a hospital in his network.
Yeah.
How is that not being held hostage?
Yeah. We should get a nurse or somebody, maybe a hospital administrator or somebody on here at some point.
Take that
That'd
note.
be super interesting.
Eric, you write that down?
Pastor Jason should do that.
Well, this is our show now.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
He's gone now.
Pastor Jason who?
All right, well, we are about out of time, guys. We will be back here in just a couple of minutes. You're listening to 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Unfiltered with Pastor Jason Gaszak. Well, welcome back. You're listening to Unfiltered with Pastor Jason Gaszak, except today he ain't in the house. So, we are back. This is Austin Gaszak filling in with Eric Stable and Becca Carmen. We're glad that you guys are here in the studio with us today, and we're glad that you guys are listening in. We wanted to talk about something really that I'm not really too educated on, no pun intended.
That was funny.
But yeah, it was funny. But the topic of student loan forgiveness and really just this whole thing of student loans in general, I'm reading here that it says that this was just a byline that popped up, how to apply or how to qualify for Biden's student loan debt plan. So, Becca, do you want to kind of update us and update the public on this?
Yeah. So, of the three of us sitting here in this room, I am the only one with student loan debt. Okay. I don't know if that makes me the smartest or the dumbest person in the room. I think it makes you the dumbest, but I'm just kidding. You couldn't leave any grace for me.
No, I'm just kidding. There's smarts and all of that.
No, so kind of with this whole thing, so just a general disclaimer, I am not a legislator, and so I'm just going to speak on how it's been presented to me and the auto-generated email that I got about what is going on. And so from what it sounds like, anybody who took out student loans, I believe before June 30th of this year of 2022, qualifies for up to $10,000 in student loan, like forgiveness or debt relief, as long as they make less than $125,000 or $250,000 if filing jointly. If you receive Pell Grants when you were in college, then that number doubles to up to $20,000 of debt
forgiveness.
Relief. Yeah, It's crazy. So I think it's like 43 million borrowers, but like the total debt number is like 1.6 trillion. Like it's crazy. It's crazy high debt, crazy amount of people who are in debt.
And they've already canceled 32 billion in student loans.
It's so, previously. I mean, and here's the thing, you know, like that money is coming, like this forgiveness is coming from somewhere.
Right.
You know?
So like,
it's never that true.
Money doesn't grow on trees, even if the trees are at the White House.
Right.
So like, let me get this straight. So we're paying off debt now. So it's pretty much we're just taking out a loan to pay it off now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure that I'm understanding this correctly.
Okay, well, and think about this. So Pell Grants are assigned like on a as needed basis per your financial situation. You fill out what's called a FAFSA whenever you start college, and that tells you if you qualify. Well, Pell Grants, mostly, from what I understand, are not loans. They're literally, it's money that you don't have to pay back. So not only did you already get money on the front end when you went to college, but now you qualify for even more forgiveness. And for someone like me, who I'm a triplet, so all three of us went to college at the same time, and somehow we didn't really qualify for any financial aid. So almost all my college was paid for by loans, which I signed saying I will pay this back. You know, I wasn't counting on any of it getting forgiven, but
this is my thing. Okay, I don't care if it's college, and I might be misunderstanding the issue a little bit, and I might be oversimplifying it, but just in life, when you go to borrow money, doesn't matter for what it is for, you sign the dotted line or whatever, you sign saying, I understand that I have a choice to do this thing. Now, most of those decisions, like buying a house, buying a car, whatever you have to maybe take a loan out for, you know, that's not necessarily like, it is an investment, but it's not like of intrinsic value like education is. And so I understand where people are coming from, where we're like, well, this is to basically further my career. This is, you know, a stepping stone to do that. But you know that when you go out to take, you know that you don't have to live on campus at a certain point. You know that you don't have to do their meal plan. You don't, you know, and maybe that doesn't apply to everybody, but it's like, let's spend, or borrow now, and then I don't have to repay it later. If we open the gates to this, then where does it end?
Did you understand, Becca, did you understand what you were doing when you signed the dotted line?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
And, you know, you're 18 years old and you're signing these loans and you're like, oh yeah, I'll pay it back one day. Well, now I'm 26 and one day is here and I'm like, dang, this sucks. But you know, like that is literally a direct result of my action of agreeing to do so. And to be completely honest with you, my husband's going to listen to this and be like, what the heck? Because my husband doesn't have loans. So when we got married, I was like, hey, you're kind of marrying a loan basket. Like, you know that, right?
Right.
But to be honest, like whenever I took out my loans, like I explicitly remember one semester where I knew my classes were going to be like, it was just going to be a more intense course load. And so I took out extra and was allowed to take out extra more than what was just needed to cover tuition, so that I would have like a buffer. I did work full time while in school,
Right.
but I took out a buffer so that I would have like something to fall back on if I needed to like cut some of my hours to account for coursework. So it's like I took more than necessarily what I needed, but I also knew like, well, I'm going to pay for this one day, but it ain't today. So
Right.
I just went with it.
And you've already had to pay on these, right?
Yeah. So I've been paying on mine now for, I don't know, I guess like 3.5 years, obviously with COVID.
Right.
Well, you guys wouldn't know because y'all don't have student loan debt,
Right.
but with
I
COVID,
heard though.
the forbearance
Yeah,
pushed
yeah.
it off for so long. Government loans anyways, and private loans have been kind of iffy. I have both, just so everybody knows. I got plenty of private,
can speak
plenty
to
of
both.
government. But and that's part of this thing now that was announced from the current administration is forbearance is going to be pushed back as well to the end of the year. So not only is interest not accumulating, but you don't have to make payments. Obviously, this is a good time to make payments if you're able, but everyone was affected differently by COVID. But I mean, that was also 2.5 years ago when that whole thing started. So it's kind of seeming like it just keeps getting moved.
Pushed and pushed. Yep.
It's like I don't know necessarily where the end of that goes, but first of all, I understand that I signed that bottom line, so don't come for me. But I'm like, well, I guess if the government's going to honestly waste money.
Well, that's the conversation.
I'm pretty much benefiting from it.
Right.
So
I mean, it's not
I
like,
didn't ask for this.
Yeah, you didn't ask for it.
So my question is, did you understand what you were doing when you signed the dotted line? But beyond that, was that your first like loan that you took out as a maturing adult? Was that the first thing that you were like very responsible for? Did you have a car payment that was completely under your name? Obviously, you probably didn't have a house payment.
No, I didn't
right?
have a house payment.
Like, was that the first thing that you...
Yeah, well, yes. Technically, yes. My parents did purchase my first car, and I had like a payment plan set up with them that was pretty much non-negotiable. Honestly, a bank would probably be more lenient than my parents were with that.
Yep.
But it did teach me responsibility. But it was the first like real thing that I tied my own name to. And honestly, it's kind of crazy because you can talk a lot about like the cost of education rising and, like we're profiting off of this and blah, blah, blah. Well, I look back and I actually refied my stuff because once I was out of school, realized that these interest rates were through the roof. I mean, you're talking like some of these loans have interest rates as high as like 6.5%, 7%. And you're having an 18-year-old sign that. And, honestly, I feel like our education system up until graduation from high school doesn't equip you for understanding APR, interest, repayment terms, all that stuff.
That's what I'm getting at I think obviously there's a problem,
right?
But we don't come up with solutions.
Right.
Our solution is just to pay it all off.
Yeah.
But what do we do as we have to go into our school systems and be like, hey, we need to equip these 18-year-olds to understand that 8% on a loan, you're about to sign that off. You're going to be paying that off till you're
Forever.
50, 60 years old.
Well, and this goes back to really the culture that we're seeing being created, where there's no consequences for actions. I'm not saying that. I don't want it to sound like if you have student loans, you have like a plague or something. Like
I feel like it's a plague.
Yeah, but it's like it's a general principle. There are consequences for every action that we take, and what we're seeing is even in criminal law or in law, that the criminal justice system, that's what I was thinking of, we're seeing punishments or consequences be way different than what they've been in the past because our culture, our society is changing. And this is the thing that burdens me. Punishment, there's consequences and for every action that we take or every decision that we make, and it just feels like we are letting people escape responsibility. What does that teach future generations? I mean, what does that teach people that want to go out and borrow more money than they are able to pay back knowingly, and then who end up paying for it? I mean, the thing about it is nothing in this world is free. Student loan forgiveness is called they're basically buying you out of your loan. Somebody's paying for it, or the debt ceiling is going to just continue to increase. And some of these are it just bugs me, the whole thing. And it's nothing against anybody who's accepting the forgiveness. I mean,
Well, yeah.
it's like the stimulus checks.
What am I
Why
gonna do?
wouldn't I accept?
Send it back.
Yeah, why wouldn't I? Oh no,
Well,
I must
we're-
rip this up.
Right.
Like,
We're shucking responsibility on the next generation.
Yes.
And then we're going to start blaming the next generation for being lazy or
Yeah.
this or that.
Well, we're literally starting the handout, the nanny state,
We're skirting accountability.
and then we're gonna blame millennials for it.
Yeah.
Boom! See how I wrap that in there?
And we've come full circle.
And we come full circle. It's like this is all of the stuff that drives me nuts. It's the continuum of society where we just push and shove off blame, and we just wait for the next generation to handle it. And then if they don't handle it, they'll just blame the next generation.
So we get to blame the next generation.
Yeah, and it's just at a certain point, this is all going to it's not going to be ending in a good way. I mean, the fate of the weight, I should say, of financial responsibility that our kids and their kids are going to feel is going to be insurmountable. It's going to be ridiculous. I don't know. This still thing fires me up.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
I mean, as a dad,
Yeah.
those are things that I'm like, okay, I have to have these conversations now.
Yeah.
I have to teach my 4-year-old, you
Yeah.
know, like that penny that you found on the ground. I got to teach him the value of that.
Yeah.
And so it's, yeah.
Yeah.
But I also think that this starts in our schools. Like millennials are blamed for so many things. Well, y'all set up the education system
Yep.
that we went through.
But that's
and
what I'm
that we're
saying
making
though.
decisions
Even
from.
our schools though, but at me as a dad, it's
Yeah.
got to start there.
Yeah.
It
Like,
has to start at home, right?
Right. Like we can't shuck responsibility on the schools either.
Right.
Because that's what we're doing.
Right.
Oh, we
Then when
definitely
they fail,
can't trust
right?
our schools
Yeah.
to raise our children.
No.
I don't even have children.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this kind of Sunday. Pastor Jason talked about racism and that it is very real, and the responsibility. If we want to end racism, it starts in the home. It starts with how are we talking about other people in our home? How are we teaching them how to handle differences and things of those natures? And so it really does all start back in the home. But then we'll go after the schools and the legislature.
And then we're upset with them.
And then we're upset with them too, because they do have a part to play. But culturally, it is a societal issue, and it goes back to biblical values as well. Speaking of biblical values, there's a school district I was reading the other day, the school district in Caseyville, Missouri, that has reinstated spanking this year.
Hey, let's go.
So there is a parental caveat, basically, which just means that parents were recently notified of a policy approved in June by the school board to once again allow spanking in school, but only as a last resort and with written permission from parents. I think this is a great thing. I mean, we're not, giving a pass to child abuse, but that's not what this
Right.
is. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and it's developing a partnership
Yeah.
with parents
Yeah.
and the school. It's not just putting all the stuff on the school. It needs to be developing a partnership.
And it's a partnership plan. And so it was approved by the school board. And it says here that basically each family will be asked to opt in or opt out. And that is what I think we need more of in this world. Guys, we are out of time. We will see you when we get back. Well, you are listening to Unfiltered with Pastor Jason Gaszak on the Real Talk Radio Network, except Pastor Jason Gaszak is not here. I'm going to keep that going all day long. This is our last quarter hour of the show, and so we just wanted to really talk a little bit about creativity and technology in the church. And some of you might be like, well, what the heck does this have to do with anything? Believe it or not, this can be a very controversial topic, and especially with people that have been doing church, going to church their whole lives. The way that church has been done has really changed a lot over the last 50 years. I mean, really in the last 10 years. And so with 3 creative directors in the room, we kind of wanted to talk about this. And so is there really a right or a wrong way to do church? And what are some of the things that your thoughts on those?
We're doing it the right way.
We're just kidding. And on to the next segment.
I'm just
And
kidding.
that's all we
I'm just
needed.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Do you want to kind of elaborate?
Yeah, I don't think there necessarily is a right or wrong way to do church. Now, what is church, right? Like what is church? We're gathering and we're glorifying God. So, is there a right way to worship?
Right.
No, there's not a right way to worship.
Yeah.
As long as my attention's focused on Him.
Yeah.
Right. And so, creativity, I think we live in a culture that is is just we consume everything.
Yep.
And we have no problem consuming people's creativity, like at all, right? Like everywhere you turn. I mean, this radio show, we're
Yep.
consuming content from people that we would consider to be creative people. Somebody's behind the scenes editing this.
Yep.
Somebody's behind the scenes putting in the songs, and all of the things that you're listening to has creativity. We have no problem consuming that stuff. But when it comes to the church, then we have a problem with it.
Yep.
It just that doesn't make sense to me at all. And so it all comes down to, right, like what I'm doing. If God's giving me a gift to sing, whatever, if he's giving me a gift to do whatever, I have to give that back to him somehow, some way. And I think personally that the church actually does a really bad job in general of allowing outlets for creatives to give their worship back to God. And I think we do a really bad job about that, to where when a creative steps in a church, they don't have that outlet. You know, if they're a painter,
why would we not want to use that to glorify God?
You know,
Yeah,
right? If
absolutely.
they're a painter, we don't have a place for them in the church.
Right.
So what is that painter going to do?
Right.
They're going to go to a place that they have a spot now. Right. And a lot of times that's not around Christians.
It's secular.
A lot of times it's secular. A lot of times they're going to go to a place that they feel like they fit in. LA, New York, where all these creatives have gathered, and then they get into this culture when really we're saying, hey, church is about community. Come be a part of this community, be a part of this community. But that gift you have, we don't really have a place for it anymore, or we don't have a place for it. So, you know, I don't know what to do with you, but come be a part of it, and go paint on the side somewhere else.
Right.
You know, I think we do a really bad job about that. And so for me, I think
and
we
you
need
mean
more.
You mean the capital C
Yeah,
church?
capital
Yeah,
C
yeah.
church. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I think some churches do it way better than others.
Sure.
You know, so that's my kind of take on where we're at the capital C church right now. I think we need to do a better job.
Yeah.
I almost would go as far as to say, like, it's an insult almost, because if we were created in his image, God is the ultimate creator, then by default, creativity runs through our veins. And so whether you're creative because you're a painter or a vocalist, or you're really good at building things, or you're really good at crafting emails, whatever that is, like, creativity manifests in so many different ways that to not utilize those things is a disservice, and it's cutting off what God has gifted you with.
Yeah. I think we as humans tend to put everything in like a little box. Mm-hmm. Like we put
for sure
religion in this little box over here, and we put
it has to look like
this. And
yeah.
creativity we put in a box here, and creativity is people that sing, people that paint, people that do acting, and you know, and we don't think about all the ways that creativity manifests and in which God instilled it in us, and that God is the ultimate creative. And then we look at that and we say, well, let's take the church for instance. We say, well, church has been done for this way for this many years, and it should continue to be done this way in the future. When it's like all that we're trying to do, we're not trying to change the message. We're just trying to change the method in which it's done. Mm-hmm. We're trying to give people a space for community in addition to a place to worship. It should be both. The church is it's not a building. It's a gathering of people. It's a community. And so to include those creatives in that community, or to not include them, would be a disservice to not only them, but to their Heavenly Father and their Creator. But also the way that we do church, when you bring in creativity, there's an excellence factor that can come along with that. Mm-hmm. In glorifying God. And I think it's interesting. It's like anything to do with church. It's like, oh, give the church a secondhand, equipment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Give the church a secondhand this or whatever it might be. And we give everything else in life like the best.
Right.
And we save the leftovers for the church.
Right.
Well, if we're supposed to be honoring and glorifying God, and we want to do that through creative expression, shouldn't we have excellent things? Shouldn't we do it all with excellence? And shouldn't we put him first by handling the creative community with excellence? And that's kind of my thing. I think I agree with everything that you guys have said. To me, it's more about it frustrates me that whenever we have fog, or it's not fog, it's haze. You know?
Haze.
We have haze, we have lights, and we have.
I mean, it's a full out production, really. You know.
And what bugs me the most is people will come in and be like, "Why does it look like a concert in here?" Well, you're basically what you're doing or what you're saying is that we're trying to be like the world, when in reality we're just taking things in the world. We're not supposed to be of the world or in the world. Or what is it? We're not supposed to be.
We're not of the world. We are
in the world. Okay. Yeah. So why wouldn't we take something that is in our world, that is like an industry standard type thing when you do music, any live music, any conference or concert that you go to? Why wouldn't we make that the same in the church? Why does it have to be separated?
I think I offer this question is, if we would have got this right, capital C church, from the beginning, those things would not be worldly things.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. Yeah.
Saying
they wouldn't. They wouldn't be out there.
Right.
We now we're trying to like. It's almost like we're retaking it back for what it was intended for. Yeah. Right. And so, which is a lot of work, but we need to do it.
Yeah, it's crazy to me coming from a background, not growing up in church at all, not even really. I mean, I had my own experiences with very different, we're going to use the word traditional churches. And then to come to Roots for the first time and just see the way that they thought outside the box, that they were looking for ways to capture people's attention, to craft a story, to cultivate an experience for people, was like eye-opening for me. And you know, that's what caught me, right, is those things, because nothing we're doing is like sinful. It's because we have lights and we have haze, we have music, live music, that people think is this terrible thing. And it's like, but why? You know, it's an engaging, exciting atmosphere. It's an amazing community. Like, we're just looking to push that out, and, you know, through social media and different avenues. And it's so crazy to me that people think that it's so awful for the creativity that the church is pushing out there and that the church is utilizing, when really it's for his glory. Yeah. So as long as whatever you're doing is for his glory, I mean, anything really is worship. I have friends who are stay-at-home moms. You know, I've spoken to them. Being a stay-at-home mom in itself is worship. You're raising his children, your children, to love him and to know him. And regardless of what you do, whether you work for a church or you're a stay-at-home mom or you're a first responder, you're a teacher, you're whatever, as long as whatever you're doing it, you know, for his glory and to bring others to him, right, then why does it matter? Even if it's creativity or it's something else.
If God's not getting the glory of your gift, who's getting the glory? Yeah. It's one or the other. Yep. Either he's getting it, or you're getting it, or Satan's getting it. Somebody's getting it. Yep. And so if you're sitting on your gift, or if you're choosing not to use your gift for the glory of God, then somebody else is getting that glory. And is that worth it? Right. No.
Yeah. And I think for me, this was said to me a while back by Bo. Actually, Bo was like, you know, he came from a Baptist background, and he was explaining how they do church. And he's like, the funny thing is they do church we all do church the exact same way. We do a form of like worship, which includes songs. Yeah. We do like we do like a giving time. We do announcements.
Scripture reading.
We read scripture. Yep. We do prayer requests. And then we have a speaking or a preaching of a message. And then we all go home. We just all the denominations, we format it differently. Yeah. And so that's the only thing that makes it a little bit different. And it's just funny how we like shake our fist at something that maybe looks so different.
We get caught up in ourselves.
Yeah. And so what I really want to do is just, for anybody out there listening, if you already have a church home, stay in your church home, be planted in your church home. But if you're maybe looking for a place to be, a place for community, especially if you're creative, I'll just say this, Roots Church is a place for you. And so if you guys want to be a part of what we've got going on, you can do that on Sundays at 9 and 11 a.m. or Mondays at 7 p.m. Check us out. Guys, it's been a great day. We hope you have a great rest of your weekend. We will see you next time on Unfiltered.